So, SpaceX just dropped its first earnings report as a public company. Revenue almost doubled, losses got smaller, and the stock's reaction was basically the market saying, "Cute numbers. Now about that $18 billion you set on fire this quarter." Classic SpaceX, even their accounting has main character energy. Today we're talking about how SpaceX went from 3 failed rockets and a dream to one of the most talked about IPOs in market history. We'll cover the actual history, Elon's greatest hits and public meltdowns, and this idea that the stock is somehow creating a movement that's nearly unstoppable. And a quick reminder, before the sarcasm fully kicks in, this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy, sell, or tattoo ticker symbols on yourself. Markets are chaotic, companies lose money, and most retail traders do not retire early. Do your own research. Or don't. I'm not your dad. SpaceX reported about $7.8 billion in revenue for the quarter, up roughly 92% from the year before. Starlink kept printing money, the launch business did its thing, and the brand new AI segment showed up like that one friend who orders the most expensive item on the menu and says, "It'll pay for itself." They narrowed the net loss, and then everyone noticed the capital expenditure line, north of $18 billion in a single quarter, most of it aimed at AI infrastructure. So the company beat expectations, and the stock still decided to take the stairs down after hours. Because Wall Street loves a growth story until the growth story starts spinning like a tech company that just discovered unlimited budgets. It's almost impressive. Most companies have to choose between good numbers and a good stock reaction. SpaceX said, why not both disappointments at once? Cast your mind back to 2002. Elon Musk takes the money from selling PayPal and decides the most rational next move is start a rocket company in a country that already has NASA. The early Falcon 1 flights were less reaching for the stars and more reaching for the nearest ocean with style. 3 failures in a row. The 4th one finally made it to orbit in 2008, which is convenient because the company was approximately 3 weeks from becoming a very expensive scrapyard. Then came the reusable rocket era. Everyone in the industry said vertical landings were a cute science project. SpaceX kept blowing up rockets in public until the explosions turned into landings. Now they land boosters the way most of us land excuses. Cargo to the space station, actual astronauts, Starlink turning the night sky into a satellite traffic jam, Starship tests that sometimes look like controlled flight and sometimes look like the world's most expensive demolition derby. The pattern is consistent. Announce something borderline absurd, miss the first dozen deadlines, light a few vehicles on fire for content, and somehow end up with a working system that makes the old way of doing things look quaint. It's not elegant, it's not quiet, but it is hard to argue with the launch cadence. You cannot tell the SpaceX story without the human tornado at the center of it. Elon has 2 modes. I will solve multiplanetary life, and I will tweet something that makes the SEC clear its throat. There is no middle setting. Tesla almost died in 2008 at the exact same time SpaceX almost died. Production hell on the Model 3 became a public spectator sport. Timelines for full self-driving have been next year for enough years that next year should start collecting a pension, and yet the cars exist. The rockets land. Starlink terminals show up in war zones in remote villages. The man operates on a combination of first principles engineering, extreme risk tolerance, and what can only be described as main character privilege. Some of the public moments have been suboptimal. Governance questions, regulatory spats, the occasional late night social media decision that creates volatility for fun. It's all part of the show now. You don't get the reusable rockets without also getting the quarterly "what did he just post" experience. When SpaceX finally went public, the narrative machine went into overdrive. One of the greatest IPOs in market history. The future is being priced in real time. This changes everything. And look, taking a company that lands orbital class boosters and runs a global satellite network public is generally a big deal. The offering was massive. The attention was louder. For a brief shining moment, everyone could feel like they were early to the multiplanetary economy. Then the lockup periods start appearing on the calendar. The capital expenditure numbers show up in actual filings, and the stock remembers that even historic companies have to answer to quarterly expectations and supply overhang. The greatest IPO talk is fun until the market treats your first earnings report like a group project where one person did all the work and the rest of the group still wants extra credit. Here's where things get spicy. A lot of people aren't just buying a stock. They're buying the idea that reusable rockets plus global internet plus eventual Mars city equals a movement that mere gravity and accounting rules cannot stop. And fair enough, watching a company normalize orbital launch and then casually add, "We're also doing AI compute at scale," does feel different from another software IPO. It creates the sense of technological inevitability. Engineers get excited. Internet comment sections get wild. The word unstoppable starts getting thrown around like confetti. Of course, nearly unstoppable is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. Physics still exists. Capital markets still exist. Execution risk still exists. Starship still has to fully deliver on the reusable dream without turning too many more test flights into modern art. The movement is real in the cultural sense. The stock is still a stock. Those two facts can coexist, even if the timeline posters pretend they can't. So yes, SpaceX put up strong revenue growth in its first public earnings report, spent money like it was trying to single-handedly reflate the semiconductor industry, and reminded everyone that historic companies still have to file 10-Qs like the rest of us. The journey from repeated launch failures to a major public listing is objectively impressive. Elon's public record is a masterclass in high variance, and the broader project has changed what people believe is possible in space.